What's up, folks? Welcome back to another episode of Charm City Heavyweights. I'm the host, Matt Trigger. With me today is a fellow Charm City sports host. He is a new member of the Driving to the Top Productions podcasting network, and he has his own show, No Bull Sports. You can find it on Twitter and on all your streaming services. Brian Ellis. Brian, what's going on, man?
Matt, thank you for having me as always. I can't wait to get into it. Let's just hit the ground running and go, babe. Good to see
Yeah,
you.
let's get right into it. Our guest tonight is a former retired, if you want to call it that. He's in the coaching and the dad phase of his life, but he is a retired NFL wide receiver from Baltimore. Played at the University of Virginia and with the New York Jets in the early 2000s. Has a beard care line. Has a few books that he's been the author of. He has a very great charity foundation for children. Tavon Mason. What's going on, Tavon?
What's going on, y'all? Appreciate you having me on.
Hey, thanks for coming on the show, man. I appreciate you, taking some time out of your busy schedule. I know that down in your part of the country, it is school time. It is football time. You've been in full swing for the better part of 3 months with the early football season. So before we go ahead and chop it up about the NFL, Tavon, what's going on with the beard care line? What's going on with your penmanship? What you got going on these days?
Yeah, man, Matt, again, thanks again for having me back on. Brian, great meeting you, man. I appreciate you getting to chop it up, talk sports, rap to you guys. Yeah, like you said, Matt, since moving down here to the middle Georgia area 2 years ago, I've been doing a little vending here and there. And what Matt talking about, I make my own beard care products, Tavon's Beard Butter. That's on Instagram, all natural ingredients to help with your beard. It just like Matt said, that life after. Been doing that. Again, like you said, got 2 books. My first children books, Tavon Does It All. My second one is a joint project with another former NFL player, a good friend of mine, is Joel Gamble. We created the Justice Duo, which is a 4-book series. And we actually finishing up book number 2. First one was a hit. We was able to collaborate with some former players, businesses who purchased books, and we were able to give those books away. We did a couple of visits to elementary schools last summer. I flew up. Me and Joe hit a couple schools on West Baltimore and in East Baltimore, and we actually gave the books out and read to the kids their pictures, their autographs. And I was excited to be able to bring some of my components of my foundation down here. Last summer, I was able to give books away to 2 different Boys and Girls Club, one in Macon and one in the Warner Robins area, which they're probably about at the max, about like 10 minutes apart. But was able to go over there, surprise the kids, give out books, their pictures. I was, happy and appreciative of WGXA, Warner Robins, the Macon area. Came out, took some pictures, did a slip drop off. My wife and I, Tierra Mason. That was one of our big things that I love about the organization. When I was home, we would do an annual slipper drive where we would collect slippers throughout the year. And then in the new year, I would visit a handful of children's hospitals. It got to the point, Matt and Brown, where we visited 9 hospitals in 1 year. We would always start in January, the new year. We would start with University of Maryland Children's Hospital, and we was able to get to University of Virginia Children's Hospital, a children's hospital in Norfolk, and we was able to twice go back to on Long Island, where I was at with the Jets before they moved to New Jersey, to visit the Ronald McDonald House there, to take anywhere from 100 to 300 pairs of slippers to give away to the kids in the children's hospital. So we were able to do that here at the hospital where my wife worked at, Navicent in downtown Macon. We were able to drop off about 60 pairs of slippers. And I also visited the Ronald McDonald house here in Macon. So I'm digging in, paving my way through. And then that website is TavonMasonLovesTheKids.org. I have both books on there. And like I said, I'm getting my feet wet here. Well, actually, I forgot last time I did connect with a pastor in Atlanta that has a prep school. And right before the Christmas break, I was able to drive up, give out books, but also read the books to the kids on that last day before holiday break. So making my ways here, we're getting my feet wet, we're doing some things, and I'm also in the process of completing a grant through the NFL Foundation. We can get grants to host a camp here, football camp here for in some of the areas, underserved areas here in Macon for our smaller kids, our early elementary school kids, just to get them rolling with football. So I'm gonna set that up to try to get that done in the new year as well. So yeah, just trying to do that, and on top of getting my feet wet down in the area. My brother's been living here in Georgia for years and been wanting to get me down here. Finally got us down here, but I'm still be able to do what I love to do, and that's coach football.
Absolutely. Are you involved with the NFL Retired Players Association down in Georgia?
So, and it's funny because this Sunday they have an event. So I'm actually going to get able to drive up. I'm about an hour and 30 away. So some of their events are on a weekday, and that's a little tough with after school, kids, family, and then trying to shoot up to Atlanta and then shoot back down. So they have an event this Sunday. So I'm going to drive up there and meet up with Walt Harris. He's the president of the NFLPA Atlanta chapter. Meet some of the new guys, introduce myself, because I was the vice president for 4 years at the NFLPA Baltimore chapter. Myself, yes. Jason Murphy, Tony Covington, and Smith. We were the board for the NFLPA Baltimore chapter for 4 years, from 2017 to 2021. So I'm looking forward to getting up to meet the guys and being on the other side of being able to listen and see what's going on around the town.
The Baltimore chapter just back in the end of April had a event down at the new Topgolf in between the stadiums, and Chuck Banks is the new president. Yeah. He's a good friend of mine. We work together, and Justin Wells is the Brandon Hepburn is the vice president. Justin Wells is the treasurer or the secretary, however you want to. So those guys are great. They had an event cool. Last week at Jimmy's Seafood. I managed to link Chuck with Jimmy's, and I was actually in Ocean City, so I missed it, but it was really cool. We've been kind of working together on some things. They managed to get me into the Odell Beckham Jr. football camp on Sunday.
Okay.
I got a chance to coach there. I had the 9 through 11-year-olds, and we got in there. Got a chance to meet Odell, which was really cool. And cool. I've been working with them. I've been working with them on some other things. I really like, even though I'm not a former athlete in the NFL, but working with the Players Association for the retired players has been really, enlightening and eye-opening. You guys are doing a lot of great things, and I'm happy that you guys.
And that's the key. We like to connect with everybody that's about the community, because the biggest thing was trying to pull those guys out, because a lot of times with football players, once they're done, they just want to be left alone. But we also want them to come back so they know what resources are out there for them if they need help with certain things financially, mentally, physically. We're having different discounts. Get them out. This is what's going on. Got this health study. We got this study. Where they're fly you out, put you up, just so you can get everything checked out. So that was our biggest thing, and it was booming at first, and then of course the struggle went back down because we, trying to rope everybody back in. So I'm glad that they got a roll. I'm glad they was able to do that. I know we did do something with my organization back home. We were always, every Thanksgiving, I would do a tailgate at the West Side Men's Shelter, the Cold Blue Shelter in Catonsville. And one year, a couple of the guys, Joel Gamble, Jason Murphy, came out. And while I was giving out coats and stuff, they came out and showed, and we kind of like chill and hung out with the guys, just to, let them see that, they're cared for as well. So that was pretty cool as well.
That's cool.
That's amazing. Brian, I know you've been doing your research over there, man. Go ahead and fire away, Brian.
No, yeah, I'm taking a look at some your UVA history here.
Yeah.
I was going to ask more so about what you were just talking about with the NFLPA and your involvement from 2017 to 2021 there. And my assumption is that you're involved a lot with retired players. Is that what? Yeah. And kind of getting them back into real life. And, Gotcha. I guess I have a genuine interest in, the concussion protocol and how much it's gone. Yeah, going. And I think in your time period there, you probably saw a lot of change there.
Oh yeah.
Can you speak on that a little bit? Like what are some things that you've seen that are vast improvements, and then like what could they maybe work on still?
I think, Brian, the biggest thing that helped, and it might be like a shocker, was that Will Smith movie, Concussion. Because, at first it will be, and it's funny because me and my the guys I coached with, all of them who played football in college on some type of level, where it was arena football here, there, and we would always say how when we were younger and we played, boom, we run in collision and we would bounce up. Well, we were told, hey, get up, don't be soft, blah, blah, blah. But I think I saw it even pre-Brian going to NFLPA Baltimore chapter. I had a stint starting in 2014 of coaching at Stevenson University in Owens Mills. After leaving my high school, the first stint of coaching the receivers and special team coordinator there, I like, let me take my chance let me take a stab at it. And I applied, and I came on in 14 as the tight end coach. The next year, they went to a spread offense. The old offensive coordinator went back to Shepherd. So the D coordinator wanted to keep me and move over to coach the corners. And I first noticed it there, especially being on the college level, because, on the college level, it's ball to the wall. We fire. We downhill, get them down on the ground. But what I saw that we did, we took on the hawk tackling, what the Seahawks did, based like your rugby style. Get the head out of there, shoot for the hips, wrap and roll. You still got guys still want to do that powerful bang, that impact. But I start to see that improve. Of course, the concussion movie, but then we start seeing the tackling style changing.
Right.
My good friend, my brother, and I call him my brother, he coaches youth football out Lutherville, Jawan Epps, Coach Epps, and we were talking about, how now on that lower level that they're making sure those guys follow the same rules as high school coaches and college coaches. You got to go on USA and take the concussion certification, get certified, know proper tackling styles. You can't do the old school way of line each other up, and just smash just because you want to see kids hit, but because you don't know what that's going to do long term. You know what I mean? So I think with bringing that in, and then seeing some of our veterans who came out, your McMahon, when Jim McMahon came out, I remember that episode on ESPN where his girlfriend said that she has to program how to get home in his GPS because of the rattling. You know what I mean? And no matter, and I know year after year they come out with fancy helmets, this and that, but the thing they have to realize, you still have a guy that's anywhere from 5'10", 5'11" to 6-something, 200-some pounds, going full tilt at another man. And no matter what helmet or equipment you got on, that impact is going to shake, it's going to jolt. But so I give big salute, major salute and praise to the guys before who went through stuff, and gave themselves up, the Junior Seau's, you know what I mean? At the beginning of the concussion movie, from the Steelers, who signed his brain over to be studied, those guys that, knew something wasn't right there, but those protocols allowed it to be a lot better. So I kind of call it the, save yourself from yourself, you know what I mean? Because, playing football, any impact sport, and the way we were coached. And I always say, football, because that's the sport I played, it's like a lower level military. We go to training camp, they go to boot camp. You know what I mean? Yeah, they shrunk down training camp. But when I was in training camp, it would be for almost 3 weeks, almost a month. And that's 2 days every day. They cut that down, to what you say, Brian, to limit the impact. You know what I mean? In practice. And then, okay, here comes for high school Fridays, college Saturday, NFL Sunday. You've been beaten up all throughout the week. Then boom, now you got somebody who told that you're not supposed to like them. They coming to get a W in the column, and they're gonna do whatever they need to do to run through that wall. So I think they're doing a lot better, more with the technique and fundamentals. I do that myself. That's what I bought on to when I started coaching in high school. What I got from Stevenson and coaching with Coach Johnson, with the hawk tackle, starting from the very beginning, how to break down, how to close the gap, how to protect the cutback. Starting on your knees and just hitting the bag, head out the way, hitting the bag. Start from the very, very beginning. So when we get in the game, you're not just catapulting yourself, and then we have more casualties.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that catapult, like you're saying, I see that a lot in the NFL, these days, because and I feel like guys they're kind of afraid to make that the helmet to helmet.
Yeah.
So they kind of are like throwing the shoulder.
Yeah.
You see that? I mean, but they're not wrapping up. They just want to instead of the head, they're using the shoulder now.
Right. And they want that boom, because it's all about what we're saying now. It's all about that big play. You know what I mean? How can I make this big show play so everybody can look at me? And and especially once you get into college and NFL, when you're trying to make noise to be seen, so you're going to do whatever to get heard, to get seen, but not knowing that whatever, it could be your last time playing that game, or it could create trauma over the years. So with the NFLPA, which I like the fact that if you don't, it doesn't depend on how many seasons you had, whether you have accredited season or you was in preseason camps like I were, you still can have access to some of those benefits because you received a check from the NFL, whether it was in the summertime, whether it was all year round, but you still put your body through that. So trying to get all the chapters, trying to get guys out. And another thing I like is mixing the younger with the old. So when I got in 2017, I was 27, when we have those different events, you have some of the retired guys that were older, that played with the Raiders or played wherever in the 60s, 70s, and the 80s. So it's mixing us to try to aid, I understand, we didn't play in your era. So what we're trying to do now is trying to give y'all information to help you guys who kind of paved the way for the new rules that are in there for insurance and stuff like that, which those guys didn't have. So at least we have some studies. They partner with Harvard Study for the study the brain. You get a whole full body, when you go exam, like a sports exam, not your going to like express care type exam, but a whole body, thing. They having different events. Some stuff you got to pay for. They got like a summer event they had in Boca Raton, Florida, where you go down, different games, you get to mingle, but they also had stuff set up. Go see this stuff that, for your yoga, stuff like that, to try to like jumpstart a lot of the guys that are out the game now, but it's mixing with your younger, with your older, and then with your younger. So it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
Hey, Tavon, I wanted to ask you a question because it's been more prevalent. And I know that you've been really focused on improving the health that you've been of the players that young and old that you've been speaking on. And Brian, that was great. You brought that to light. The NFL is expanding into more of a global game now. They have camps all over the world. They're playing games on different continents.
Mm-hmm.
It's already difficult enough to go through the daily grind of an NFL player.
Yeah.
Nobody really understands it unless you've done it.
Yeah.
I mean, you're pretty much in multiple car crashes every week for 3 months out of the year. And the toll it takes on your body. As much as it's pumping money into the NFL, and which means if the NFL is making more money, the players are making more money, and it's going to be it's trickle down economics, but on a smaller scale in terms of that. But do you think it's an unfair situation for these players to be flying to London, flying to Germany, playing in Mexico, playing in Canada, to where there's an added layer of jet lag and travel exhaustion, and then having to still maintain your regiment in a completely different time zone, a completely different area where it's not your culture, it's not your city, it's not your hometown.
Right.
Has there been pushback from the players that you've heard about, or has it been widely accepted amongst the community of players?
I think it's been accepted. I know at least I got the opportunity. I know for myself, it was huge. So in 2003, my second go around with the Jets, we had an All-American Bowl against the 2003 Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Japan. So going over to Japan, it was amazing. You know, I would say Matt and Brian, the only thing I think they should pull with adding more international games are the Thursday night games. I don't think I'm not, and I don't take nothing away from basketball, baseball, and everything. 'Cause that's still taxing on the body. But if you play on a Sunday, like you just said, getting beat up, and you got to turn back around and play Thursday night, yeah, you get the following week off. But you know, we know we're playing that game, and like you said, you the name of the game is to win. You know, Coach Herman ever said to get that W. So if you're going hard on a Sunday on a 1 o'clock game, and then you that headliner on that Thursday night game, you know what I mean? That's far in between for refs, you know, because you still got to watch film from Sunday's game to correct any mistakes. Then you got to watch film on the next game on Thursday, which is a short week. I think the international games are good, and the reason why I say that is because, you know, like basketball, they go everywhere. You know what I mean? You remember at first, football to stay here, not count NFL Europe, because that was kind of like how they got the G League. That's kind of like the G League for NFL. But for, you know, a lot of the countries that only can watch us on TV, especially if they only can watch us at certain times of the day, and then you get to see these, you know, your favorite football play, even if not your favorite, but you got NFL guys coming over. I think that's a plus. And it also helps some of the NFL players who, without that, wouldn't have the opportunity to be able to see those different places. You know, like I said, again, on my point, it was like amazing to be able to do it. You know, we boarded in LaGuardia, you know, we got on Japan Airlines. You know, I remember in the back of the seat, and it was the same way in Virginia when we went to Hawaii, but on the back of the seat, you can see your transition, you know, going over Antarctica and landing down in Japan, and you go into where like a different atmosphere. And you know, I'm a free agent. To me, I'm thinking I'm a nobody. You know, you walk into we stayed in a Tokyo Dome Hotel, the same arena that Matsui played in. They had him everywhere back then, everywhere, because he just came over. He was everywhere.
Godzilla.
You know? Yeah, right, Brian. He was everywhere, Matt and Brian, like on that Tokyo Dome Hotel. And like, soon as you walk in, and you just see the guys that look at you, and find you in the book. Can you sign right here? And again, thinking I'm nobody, you have a man, it was a Japanese man and his son, and he can look at you in your face, turn in the book, can you sign here? So being able to experience that, but also we connected with the military there. So you also got people who are stationed there. And now you have NFL, American football team coming over, and we had a big event together. So we are meeting people who are from the States there, and we get to mingle that way. You know what I mean? And that was like huge, getting to go around, walk around, and being able to see stuff that you normally wouldn't see. You know, it was kind of cool. We had a guy on the team named Yoshi. He took a couple of us to what they considered their Japanese flea market. And then being able to see that culture, you know, going through the flea market, and at the end, they were doing a kind of like their way of having church service. You know what I mean? And they had like a big pot with like incense, and it's supposed to, like, you know, Yoshi told us you fan it on yourself and help keep the spirits away. And then you go and we standing outside like a mini temple, and they having their service. And on each side of the wall was these huge, it had to be like 7-foot tall sandals that were handmade. And they would say they were for devils or spirits to walk out. So being able to, you know, grab onto that culture going over there, and I think it helps open the mind. But again, we was playing against the 03 Buccaneers. So seeing Warren Sapp in the hallway, walk past you, talk to you, seeing Brad Johnson, Simeon Rice, you know what I mean, those guys, and just seeing, like, you know, just that coming together thing. So I think it's a great idea. I do personally, and I've said this before, I do think the Thursday games are a bit much.
I agree with that.
For the NFL, you know, with the way they gotta play. Then you think about it, they added on that 17th game. the players got more money from the TV because the TV was getting a lot of money. But then you add on the 17th game or 18th, 17th, 18th game, then you're rolling on into the playoffs if the teams make it to the playoffs. So I think if they could do anything, Matt, to pull back on the Thursday night games, allow these guys to have 4 weeks off to be able to heal on Monday, come back over on Tuesday, watch film. Then Wednesday, you got some kind of like you starting to move around a little bit. Thursday, then you be flowing. Friday, if it's West Coast, they fly out Friday. Or if not, they stand on that coast. At least you still have one more day. But cutting it in with that Thursday, and we know they're going to pick your main primetime team. So some guys will going to be bouncing within a 4-day period.
Right.
So
right now, with the exception of opening day,
mm-hmm.
and Thanksgiving,
I
think you really need to leave Thursday.
Yeah,
it seems like the NFL is almost being. I don't even want to use the word greedy because that's so cliche, Tavon. But it seems like that it's like they almost don't know when enough is enough for football. Now they're getting into Saturday games for the playoffs, Saturday games in week 17 and 18. Now, I understand that they're going on to Saturdays when these colleges are going into bowl season and they have that month where they don't play. I understand that because you're monopolizing on television time for football fans that are off on the weekends to watch their teams. I do agree with you. I agree with Brian. The Thursday game, because I wanted to ask you, because I don't know if you've seen the documentary on Netflix, Quarterback. They followed around Patrick Mahomes, Marcus Mariota, Kirk Cousins. The recovery and refractory period for you guys to get your bodies correct for the following week. Like Kirk Cousins does not do anything on Tuesdays, I believe. He doesn't come in the facility. He stays at home and he is dad, husband, Aaron, man. He does all that. So when you think about that as a normal person, where you are in a hard-fought game of a collision sport on Sunday afternoon, and then Monday you're recovering. You're doing nothing but fixing your body up. The cold tub, the trainer's table, all that. We saw all that. Yeah. And then Tuesdays is when most guys just come in for a lift, or they come in for some therapy or anything like that. And then Wednesday that you kind of ease in, Wednesday you're, doing a little bit of hitting at practice, and Thursday you kind of descend upon the physicality and more along the lines of rest as the week goes on. At least I'm assuming. So when you take 3 days out of that equation, it's unfair because Thursday games have quite a lot of injuries too.
Oh yeah,
and it's bad for the game.
Yeah, it haven't healed.
You haven't because you're taking away essentially that padded practice where you can knock the rust off and knock the kinks out of your body, or you're taking away the recovery days and the film watching and the lifting sessions, and with the exception of Steve Saunders, who liked to terrorize the Ravens roster by lifting heavy throughout the entire year. Most of the time you're getting a light lift session and just to maintain pliability and keeping the body in motion. So the Thursday is it's unnecessary at this point.
Yeah. The only thing I would say, if the reason why they might, and it's not like the give them like a way out, it's because when you're in the NFL, NBA, MLB, that's your job. So it's not like how us three. We wake up, we go to our job, and then we got to go to practice or whatever afterwards. So that's their main thing. That's their main job. So like we saw with Kirk Cousins doing that extra stuff after the fact. So it's like now, we're grown men, adults. You've been playing this game for a long time. So now you got to start investing in your body. Whether you can invest it on the level of like a LeBron or like a Kirk Cousins, or maybe you can invest it midway where you have someone that can come in and do certain things to help your body. I just remember being 22, 23, and being able to sit down. And I'll say, like, when I was with the Jets, those veterans were like the top notch. When I mean by top notch, I mean by just being human. You know what I mean? We see it where, of course they put athletes on a higher pedestal anywhere, and you going in, sometimes you think you don't fit on that level because you got guys making the 30 million, 40 million, and you coming in snot-nosed rookie, and they feel like, well, I'm up here and you're down there. None of them, from Vinny Testaverde to John Abraham, to Mo Lewis, to Marvin Jones, none of those guys, Wayne Corbett, Santana Moss, I give him a shout out. That's my guy. He let me 2003. We had the blackout in New York, so we came out of practice. We couldn't stay in the dorms at Hofstra, so he let me stay at his house. You know what I mean? Until the lights came back on. So all those guys, just to quit. Anthony Beck, all those guys were real great guys. So they would sit there and talk to you. Kevin Mawai, one Sunday took me to breakfast with him. So you got first round center, double millionaire, and I'm just a snot-nosed rookie with a 1990 Honda Accord. And hey, you want to go to practice with me? Me and my pastor? Sure. All right, I'll go. And, a lot of those guys, like even sitting there talking to Curtis Martin, you know what I mean? Him and Richie Anderson, me and, Richie from Maryland. So sitting there talking to them guys, and Curtis Martin giving tidbits on trying to help us younger guys on taking care of our bodies early. But, you 22, man, I can eat a Big Mac supersize. I go back out there and burn it off, not paying attention to these guys that's been in the game for a while, but just having those conversations. So now a lot of guys are doing that extra because of the Thursday game, because of the extra game on the back end. Mm-hmm. So coming in early and getting that deep tissue massage, or because they don't have another place they have to be, it's like, okay, football is my job. I'm not taking away, using the excuse that they're not beating up. But I think I think they see it as, okay, this is your job. We're paying you the money. So do those extra things to prep. The facilities is yours. You got a code, come in, contact with the trainers there. I need extra stretching. I need this. Kind of like Kirk Cousins, have the guy coming in and paying attention to those particulars of your body.
Nice.
Most people don't really think about a lot of that stuff that you were just talking about. Yeah. And it's kind of mind blowing to think about the extra prep. I wanted to ask you, Brian, I'll let you take the next round of questioning, man. But
no worries.
One thing I noticed with the quarterback documentary, Tavon, the Minnesota Vikings have a psychologist on the staff. And I didn't really think that, most jobs do have mental health professionals at the ready. Like for us, I'm a correctional officer. I've been one for 13 years. We have mental health professionals if we want to seek help. But I didn't think that they would be on an NFL staff. I know it's a different day and age from when you played. It's been 20 years since you were lacing up your cleats in the NFL. Yeah. And was that something that was common back then, that it wasn't really talked about? Was there mental health professionals on the Jets staff, or is that something more of new age football?
I think they were there, but like you said, it goes back to that kind of component of if you speak out, you soft. You know what I mean? As far as like when it came to the football play, we were just talking about. Again, when the coaches, you remember when coaches were like, what you need water for? Water make you soft. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like that, breaking you down, kind of like they do with the military, building you back up to this fine soldier, this fine player. And any slightness or weakness, then that's not a good thing. People going to look at you a certain way. Same way with us, us three being men, society says men are supposed to be this. We're tough, we big. We're not supposed to cry. We're not supposed to speak our mind. We're supposed to hold everything in, you know what I mean? And then you see where us as men, we're dying at a younger age than females because we hold everything in and we don't voice it. I think as it progressed, especially through basketball, people when they started coming out saying it, and I'm going to take a break, then we start seeing the guys in football. We start seeing Ridley, with the Falcons. I need time to recalibrate because you do take on a lot, and everybody's situation is different. And to me personally, I don't care how different your situation is. Once you get in the limelight of being anything that says professional, famous, this and that, they're going to bring on a different atmosphere. And you're going to have people that clamping on. And sometimes that runs to where, boom, you explode. I think and I'm glad people spoke out of it. The Kevin Loves spoke about it, of knowing that I needed that extra, because it helps them stay in that game longer and it helps down the line to kind of like bring that down and having that on staff, Matt and Brian, that's easy because soon you come off the football field or again, having that access to the facility and getting those contact information, can I talk to you? And boom, I'm on staff. And with having them on staff, and not saying they had other practices, but we all know, the shield kind of dominates, you know what I mean? And with having that on and having that on staff, having that type of person on staff, you're gonna have access 24/7. And and I think the Player Association does a great job with our current players with helping them have those different things. Okay, if we're gonna give you this, then we're gonna need this to make sure our guys are ready to go out there to go to battle, or if they having stuff they're dealing with off the field, if you want them clear-headed on the field, then we need stuff to help them off the field, with having stuff in play. My wife, we went to Chattanooga Saturday. She wants to we're in the process of starting her IV hydration business. And I was telling her, I was like, what made you want to do that? And she it's starting to come out, of people wanting to do that more, help the body, putting the vitamins right through, through your veins, through your bloodstream. I was like, that's crazy. Because back in 2003, we had someone on staff at the Jets, and they like, man, you never got an IV? I was like, yeah, outside the hospital. I said, no, because that's when we were still doing tour days. And I was like, man, I'm just like tired, man. And they like telling me, said, after the first practice, to sign up and get an IV, and where they putting the fluids back in, and boom, and it just like it was like a spark. So you'll see a lot more people doing that. Again, talking to Joel Sunday, and he said he got a couple when he was playing, and he did it through LifeBridge to help pump vitamins directly through. So like you said, Matt and Brian, there's a lot more stuff at the hands of athletes and former players to be able to do that and make them aware, so they got more avenues to be able to have their bodies ready. You know what I mean? Like your Tom Brady's. Yeah, he has millions of dollars, but he know, okay, let me go to this guy that knows more about it than myself, because the old school way isn't cutting it anymore. We got to add more ways, because you focus on the small parts of your body instead of, okay, we're going to bench press all day. Then you got more people doing more speed training, more stuff that's strengthening hip flexors, more stuff that's strengthening other parts, your ankles that we don't think about, so you can be able to move how you're supposed to move.
Right. And, be able to move like you're supposed to move to avoid the injuries. I mean, I know that's, I mean, your ability to, if you're kind of big, bulky, and you fall awkwardly, you're not going to be able to plant your hand and make your move the quicker. I see exactly what you're saying. I wanted to ask about your Jets. I don't know. Is that your team now? Or, I mean, or do you follow?
I'm always purple. I'm a true hometown boy. I also watch the Jets because they did give me my opportunity. So I'm a hometown boy. Orioles, Ravens, through and through. That's where I was at. The Jets gave me my opportunity, and I have been watching since we did pick up Aaron Rodgers. I'm kind of a wait and see. What I mean? Aaron Rodgers is a complete dog. But we also know Father Time always wins. You know what I mean? And that's like my biggest thing is I love it, but Father Times always win. So when you're throwing out that type of money and you don't know how that's going to go, even through OTAs, the calf injury, it's better now, but we're still in helmets, jerseys, and shorts. When we start adding the shoulder pads on, and those defensive line really start humming, how's that going to move? You know what I'm saying? Great defense. They got some parts on offense. They're throwing down, they're rolling down. But again, how long would that last throughout the season? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping. I would think the best thing for him would be like Brett Favre when he went to the Vikings. You know, he did have one amazing year with them, and I don't know if it was that 1 year or the second year when in the Saints game he just got annihilated, and that was it. You know, and that's I would say you're right. I think that's the fear with Aaron Rodgers is when is he going to get his bell rung? You know, and he's not going to be able to recover. So
and
I'm excited for
that money. Yeah, and you kicked out that money, and you have to give it to them. And they already talking about restructuring it for more than 1 year. We haven't even gotten this year yet.
I didn't know that.
No,
jeez.
So
before preseason, what?
Brian, I'm glad you brought up the Jets. And the thing is, we know this is the Baltimore sports show, and and Tavon, I know that you love the hometown teams, like you said. Because I talked to you a lot in text messages about throughout the course of the season. I wanted to ask you about the dynamic of Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, we know that he is a Super Bowl winner. He has the MVP accolades. He's one of the greatest quarterbacks of this generation. He's going to be an all-time great when it's all said and done, and he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Yeah. The dynamic of the current state of the New York Jets. Now, I don't know every single player on the roster, but they have a good young running back who's coming back from an ACL tear, Breece Hall. They have Garrett Wilson. They brought in pretty much all of Aaron's boys on offense at the wide receiver position. They brought in Lazard. They brought in Randall Cobb. They're making him feel a little bit more at home.
Yeah.
What is the biggest transition for these players that aren't familiar with Aaron? Because you're going from Zach Wilson, who was a high draft pick, but he, by all accounts, he's somewhat of a bust. And just for draft status compared to output. I'm not saying that he's a terrible player. He just didn't live up to the lofty draft expectations. Now you have this cerebral-minded quarterback who takes no prisoners, has no problem throwing his teammates under the bus to the media.
Yeah.
We've seen that over the years. He's a very polarizing figure. So what is going to be the biggest challenge for guys like Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall and the offensive line? Because he's going to have a very high expectation of the guys blocking for him. You saw the transition in Tampa Bay when they went from Jameis Winston to Tom Brady.
Yeah.
They had to elevate their play immediately. Now, I know the Jets don't have Tristan Wirfs and Ryan Jensen and Donovan Smith and Ali Marpet and Shaq Mason. Those were fantastic offensive linemen. They're not all together anymore. The Jets' offensive line isn't quite as good. So there's going to be an expectation that these dudes need to block for him because he will not have a problem airing them out. And that New York media, as you know, is unforgiving.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, just New York sports in general. And that's why I said, like, when you go to a market like that, you got to be able to take on what's in the building and what's outside of the building as far as the fans, because it's such a heavy sports city, town in general, from New York City out to Buffalo. But I think it will help them elevate their play. And like you said, they're going to have to grow up. And that's kind of like the whole point of professional sports is, all right, you had your time in high school, you got to college, you still immature, you still like a baby. Now you're here, it's no more holding your hand. All right, so we were wanting this, so we got it. Like you said, Zach wasn't. I really didn't think that pick should have happened. Just personally, I didn't think Zach should have went there. I didn't think that was a setup for Zach because of the way the offense he played for at BYU. I didn't think that was a fit. I think he would have been more of your Midwest or West Coast type offensive quarterback. Quarterback instead of being put in that type of offense setup for him, and not really having just like you said, not being in the building. But did they really set him up to win, or was just we're gonna push you in it, and it's like you said, we're gonna plug you in, and you got to take on the heat of New York City, and good luck, son. Oh, by the way, you got to try to win for us when you're as a rookie trying to come and learn. You know what I mean? But I think if they would have set him up with an Aaron Rodgers type from the jump, it would have helped Zach develop, to be something a little bit more. And I just think that it will pay off, but Aaron Rodgers, like you said, the way he do go out in the public, go out in the media, he will have to kind of reel it in, which I think he will, because I think he does know he's been round on the curve that this might be it. Because a lot of times when you've been a man that long and all of a sudden, boom, you leaving your main team, then you kind of feeling like, okay, it might be coming to the end. We saw it with the GOAT, Michael Jordan. He left Chicago, he went to the Wizards. His was bumping up and down. Tom Brady left, went to Tampa Bay, got a Super Bowl during a pandemic, but what did we see last year? Throws wasn't going where they needed to go at. You know what I mean? His timing was totally off, so we saw it. So this is, to me, and I'm not saying Super Bowl bust for the Jets this year, but more progress for the Jets. And now that, it's been that big thing, everybody talking about it, get up. The next thing they're on first take, Aaron Rodgers. So it's everybody gonna have to elevate to that game, like you guys said, because like now all eyes on me right now. Hard Knocks coming there. So now you really got all eyes on you right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just my take on it.
And while we're on the quarterbacks, and I know that there's high expectations for Aaron Rodgers, I'm interested to see what it looks like, because at the end of the day, we've only ever seen Aaron Rodgers wear number 12 in Green Bay, and he's got a lot of firepower there. Another quarterback made news today, and Justin Herbert exceeded Lamar's overall value of a contract by $2.5 million, now becoming the highest paid player in NFL history. I don't want to say this is a slippery slope, because at the end of the day, I am just a content creator that happens to, use my platform and talk about sports more than just on message boards. I'm a regular guy. $262.5 million for a quarterback with 0 playoff wins, 0 MVPs, and has, for a lack of a better term, been hampered by a coach that does not make good critical game time decisions.
Mm-hmm.
He is, I don't want to say that he's overrated, because that's a little bit unfair. But given, if you look at the offense that he's in, they have a really good offensive line. He had Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Garrett Everett, Austin Eckler, and you're not getting to the playoffs. And that defense this year had Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa bookending on the front line. They have a pretty good linebacking core. They have a pretty good secondary. So I'm not saying that they're amazing by any of the stretch, because I don't really know the ins and outs of the Los Angeles Chargers, but that is a lot of money for somebody who has not touched a playoff football field.
Yep. And that's what we're saying now. It is the changing of the guard. That's what we're seeing now with the money. A lot of your owners now are willing to roll a dice and bet the house right away now. Whereas you remember, we used to see before, and I know no time change. We can't keep saying back in the day, but you get paid based off your performance. What do you bring? Because to me, the last time I checked, the whole point of the professional level, because there's no higher than professional level, is to win, get Super Bowl. Playoff games are cool. Playoff wins are good. Conference championships, division championships are good, but the ultimate goal is a Super Bowl. So we all know Mahomes is worth the money he got. And just like you said, Matt, it's kind of like the Janet Jackson thing. What have you done for me lately? And to go, to that, what you just said, if we all remember, fellas, the Jacksonville game, the lead they blew in the Jacksonville game.
Yeah.
And
heavy. That was a big lead.
That was heavy. And then, like you said, you come off of that to making 262. I pulled it up myself, just like how Brian researched 262.5 after blowing that lead, because we know at the end of the day, everything goes back on the coach and on the quarterback. It's just how it works, So to be able to be touted, and then a lot of people would touted them as, oh yeah, the Chargers, and you go down to Jacksonville, and Jacksonville was on a hunt. They closed out their last 10 games incredibly, but to the point of a lot of sportscasters, I'm picking the Chargers. I'm picking Herbert and Chargers. I was the same way. I didn't really see much that showed me anything stronger, and then boom, you lay an egg like that, and in Jacksonville. And I just say it's just that change in the guard is quick to throw that money out without any type of production that puts our team on a elite staff, because you're playing in the same stadium as a team that won a Super Bowl recently. So you're going to drop the $260 million, but you have no hardware. So basically you're the little brother.
There you go. And they got no local fan base because, they're all in San Diego. So the Los Angeles Chargers are interesting.
Right.
Yeah. And the thing is, I'm looking at his overall production.
Mm-hmm.
He had his growing pains as a rookie. He came in a year after Lamar. Now Lamar won an MVP in his first full season as a starter. He lit the league on fire. The offense was borderline unstoppable. We were putting up 40, 50 points a couple of games in that 2019 year. I look at it and I'm like, okay, a lot of people criticize the Lamar deal. Lamar held out, and we talked about this plenty of times, Tavon. He held out for what he wanted. At the end of the day, he got what he wanted to a varying degree. He wanted the money, he wanted the long-term security, and he wanted Odell Beckham Jr.
Right.
And he got all three.
Right.
So and I'm not saying but, Lamar is unlike anything that you've ever seen out of a professional quarterback. He's electric. He's dynamite. He's lightning in a bottle, whatever you want to call it. He had a unanimous MVP season. Now, has he been good in the playoffs? Not really.
Right.
I believe his biggest problem over the years have been just the fact that he feels like he's got to put the entire team on his shoulders when it comes down to the crunch time.
Yeah.
And to his defense, the defense not only bent, but they broke in a couple of those playoff games. The Tennessee Titans game, for instance, I know I'm going back to that 2019 heartbreaker. Lamar had over 510 yards of total offense between running and passing, and you still lose.
Yeah.
And Herbert hasn't come close to that. And if you want to stack up Herbert's offense and the players that he's had playing for him or playing around him, and you stack them up to everybody pre-2023 Lamar offense, other than Mark Andrews being better than any tight end that the Chargers have had since Antonio Gates.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what Lamar would have done with Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, and Austin Eckler in his MVP year? If you swap these guys,
right?
If you swap these guys, Herbert with Willie Snead and Seth Roberts and rookie
average.
Hollywood Brown, he's putting up pedestrian numbers. You put Lamar Jackson in the type of offense he's in with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams and Austin Eckler, that they might have put up 5,000 rushing yards between three of them and 5,000 passing yards. I know I'm being facetious, but it's crazy that he exceeded Lamar's contract, and I'm not mad at it.
Yeah.
But it's just like you said, it's the day and age, it's the culture, it's you got to pay your quarterback.
Yeah.
He hasn't won when it matters. So that's just like mind-boggling to me. And I know as a former player, you have a different perspective because you want your guys to get paid regardless. You guys put your bodies through a lot, and you have a very finite amount of time to win or to earn your money.
Yeah. And I say this, I think it also goes to show where in each club whose worth was what and how do they see your worth. You know what I mean? So you like you said, you got Lamar in that type of offense where we had basically a two receiver combo and Andrews and Hollywood Brown. So you have Andrews hand in the dirt. You have an H-back. You have a receiver on one side, a receiver on one side, but they kept Lamar to one side. We just want to scan this one side. And we noticed that game against Buffalo where when he got concussion, they put the couple of games before that, they started putting the spy on him because they knew that he was going to try to check down low to Andrew, or they're going to try to hit Hollywood Brown. He wants something deep, a post, or a quick slant. Or his other safety net was him pulling it down and trying to run. You know what I mean? Taking out a linebacker, putting a dime, a nickel, extra DB in, kind of like play, the shadow Lamar Jackson. And like you said, I'm really excited to see what Moncton brings to the table for this guy, knowing that and the same way with the change of the guard, the change of the quarterback is changing. Quarterbacks are running more. You having more of your OCs, and I'm glad a lot of the OCs and coaches are younger to see, well, if I want to win, I got to adapt my offense to fit my key guy. You know what I mean? And we saw that with Andy Reid and Mahomes. This guy rolls this way, he might throw the other way. So let's give him safety nets when he does that. Not say, and even over the years, I think about it, even with having like the Kyle Bowlers and those guys, we think about it, we took a West Coast quarterback and put him in a ground and pound, a Big Ten style offense and say, we're going to hand off to Jamal Lewis here. We're going to hand off here. Oh, 3rd and 10, you got to get me a first down because you got a strong arm. But this guy's used to boom, catching, rip.
I have PTSD from Kyle Bowler. Thank you, Tavon.
Hey, he almost beat the undefeated Patriots. That's I give him that one game.
Right. I just bring him up because I was the same way, Brian and Matt. But I started to think about it, how now coaches are adapting their offense to fit those guys. We look in Philly with Jalen Hurts. What did they do with Jalen Hurts? They took the system to fit him. Is either catch, sit. We're going to give you where you're going to throw at. We're going to give you a window. If not, we know you can run because we saw that at Alabama, Oklahoma. Yep. And then you also got safety net with a talented running back. Whereas over the years, other than, Joe Flacco being a true drop back quarterback, but he had guys with him and they had a system where we can run, where we can throw. But you take these type of guys and you'll say, it's the ego thing. I'm not adjusting my system. You got to adjust to my system. So now that we having these quarterbacks where we're going to fit the system to fit you. Arizona, out there with Murray, you know what I mean? Even though he starting to do what he's supposed to do, watch film and making sure he's doing his checks. But, they're adjusting to fit his style, to help, okay, we got a smaller quarterback. Let's move him on a run. Whereas before, coach was like, well, you just got to put it in your Doug Flutie errors. You just got to put the ball where it go at. We're running this no matter what. You got to do that. So I think, knowing the worth of your guy played a lot in it. I just didn't think the Ravens didn't know the worth of Lamar until we got to this point where he said, you know what? I see y'all when I see y'all. Then you're like, oh, we got to scramble around. We got to get this done. And like you said, his first full year from being under Flacco's shadow, having 2 or 3 quarterback coaches, being in the offense where they're just giving him one or two choices to throw to, and he just destroyed the league. It was, difficult to stop him, and he gets MVP, in which he should have gotten an MVP. And like I said, over the years after that, injuries, but yet he's lighting it up passing wise. Why not adjust to fit what this guy brings to the table? Like that first game we saw in Miami. He's throwing bombs. It's just bombs over Baghdad. He's just having a field day, but you're giving him stuff. Now he got some pieces, but he also probably have an offense where we don't have 3 tight ends on the field and we bringing everybody in the box where we can pull everybody out and let this man operate like a surgeon.
And I know that better than most people that there's only a limited amount of space on the field, and these are elite athletes of the world. We've touched on Lamar. This is one of those situations now where that wide receiver room in Baltimore went from being a huge question mark a year ago at this time to now there's dogs in there, and it's old dogs and new dogs. And Odell Beckham Jr. is coming back off of his injury. He missed all of last year. He got hurt in the Super Bowl in 2021. He's still going to get the attention of a wide receiver one. Teams are going to respect him until they see that he can't do it.
Yeah.
So for the first part of the season, he's going to get that attention.
Yeah.
Mark Andrews is still Mark Andrews. Yeah. Rashad Bateman, if he can stay healthy, he's going to be somebody you got to take into account. So if this offense really opens up and spreads out, somebody's going to be running one-on-one in man coverage, or they're going to be running open.
Yeah.
I don't want to sit there and say that the entire situation in the last couple of years is entirely Lamar's fault, but this is an offense now where you got what you wanted, brother. Yeah. You got your money. You got two really good running backs. You got a very good wide receiver room. It's crazy to think that last year Devin Duvernay was your number one wide receiver after Rashad Bateman went down. And this year he's staring at wide receiver 4 at best.
Yeah.
They're going to feed Odell.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to feed Rashad Bateman. They're going to feed Zay Flowers. Mark Andrews is the number one target for Lamar anyway. So in the pecking order right there, Devin Duvernay sits at 5 all of a sudden. Yeah. Then you add in Nelson Aguilar, who's had a fantastic offseason with the team. Laquan Treadwell is making noise. It's to the point now where they just cut a couple wide receivers. Mike Thomas and Andy Isabella got cut this morning. They claimed Mekhi Polk off waivers from the New York Giants. These are camp bodies, essentially. But there's a point right now where James Prochet is on the outside looking in to where he might not even make the team this year.
Yeah.
Duvernay is a $4.5 million fifth wide receiver.
Yeah.
That's a steep amount of money for somebody that's not going to be on the field, because if Zay Flowers can do everything that Duvernay does better, and then you got a healthy Rashad and you got a healthy OBJ, Duvernay, you're a decoy at this point. You're not going to be a $4.5 million decoy, so he might even be out.
Yeah,
and I know that's speculative, but is it fair to say that Lamar Jackson has zero excuses to get back to the 2019 form that he was in prior to the injuries and the contract dispute?
I say I'm still on the fence. I like OBJ, but just like I said, with Aaron Rodgers, I think Father Time is banging at his door with having those type of knee injuries, where he's at in his career of playing that game, and having back-to-back knee surgeries. I'm still I definitely want to see it. I know when the first parts of practice, he's not going to do as much because of, like you said, who he is. So that will be the time for your Duvernays, with who is a return guy, to make noise. Aguilar, to make noise, because again, I just think we are wide receiver graveyard, and we turn the corner on being a running back graveyard, on bringing guys in just because, and we saw that the past years with the guys we brought in, and even receiver wise, Dez Bryant, having those type of guys. I still think the offense, like you said, is going to run through Andrews, and I would like to see what OBJ does in competition reps, just for the simple fact that again, you start to decrease your time and your value with knee surgery, especially as you get older, having knee surgery. Even with how great medicine is and technology is, you still have, accumulated wear and tear if you date back to college. And when you came back in with the Giants, then you with the Browns, you tore your knee up. Non-contact injury. When you start having non-contact injuries like that, it's kind of like, far from few to what can you do? Because we saw that with Dennis Pitta, another great tight end. We had non-contact injury, his hip. He tried to come back, didn't work. So again, I'm on the fence. with what a OBJ can do. I do love the offense. I think the offense will lessen Lamar Jackson's injuries because it would give him more avenues, more almost like how he was with Louisville, having that type of that offense. Because like you said, we got killer running backs. We got tight ends, we got receivers. What will they bring to the table? Will they think of, man, I'm sitting here, I'm just stealing the check. I'm 4.5 million. Oh, I ain't complaining about getting 10 snaps a game. I'm still getting 4.5 million because the way my agent set it up, and I'm a veteran, I at least got 4.5 million. And I got other stuff that's building on that as well. So I come in here, I might just want to just ride this 4.5 million while your Duvernay's, your Proches are fighting, knowing that I'm still gonna be here anyway because of what I've done in the past. It's just I'm just looking forward to seeing what the OBJs, the Aguilars, Zay Flowers ain't got no choice. You're a first round pick. You got to come in ready to roll. Just like y'all said with Bateman still on the pup list, and I know that's eating at him. So having therapists on staff is going to help him out because now you still on the injury reserve list. So now you seeing these guys being signed, you seeing the ESPN, and I don't care what nobody say. You're watching ESPN, you're watching the waivers and the free agent waivers, and because you already mentally a little bit discombobulated because you got injured, so you've been off, and now you hear, OBJ coming to town. Oh, they signed Nelson Aguilar. Oh, we drafted a receiver in the first round, like you were drafted in the first round. So as soon as that draft pick happened in the draft, I like, man, that's a complete smack in the face. They're saying, oh, we drafted you in the first round, just like like Perryman.
Yeah, they're looking at him like that. Yep.
You really haven't given us the Minnesota Bateman. You had some sparks, but you also had some drops. You had some sparks, you also had some fumbles as well. Then boom, you got injured and you still injured. So now we gotta kind of like recoup what we did, kind of like put that draft pick behind us. So again, I'm looking forward to seeing what they bring to the table. I'm also looking forward to seeing what this defense can do, with that secondary. How's that secondary going to break up with Peters?
Speaking of the defense.
Yeah.
Speaking of the defense, Tavon, that was a very smooth transition, by the way. Just like Bateman is feeling offended in a certain kind of way, you go and you sign OBJ, you sign Aguilar, you draft Zay Flowers. Patrick Queen is in the same boat.
Yeah.
He is the middle linebacker of the Ravens. He's the guy. They go out mid-year last year. They trade for Jesus and football cleats at this point, Roquan Smith.
Yeah.
He plays 8 games here. They give him $100 million, 60 of it guaranteed. And then in the 2023 draft, they go and they draft a Clemson linebacker that is bigger, stronger, and faster than you.
Yep.
And he immediately resorted to social media as well, voiced his displeasure. And this is the organization now. It's their focus to where you either get with it, you provide, you produce at your value or above, or you're out of here. Yeah. They traded Hollywood in a contract year.
Oh yeah.
And they got their center for the next 10 years. Yeah. Like you said, it's going to be interesting about the secondary as well. Marcus Peters signed with the Las Vegas Raiders today. Mm-hmm. We have Rock Ya-Sin. We pretty much swapped those guys at this point. Yeah. Rock Ya-Sin coming, to Baltimore. Marlon Humphrey, the incumbent cornerback, one. Got a lot of young guys in the secondary though, Tavon. There's Pepe Williams, Jalen Armour Davis, Caillou Blue Kelly, Brandon Stevens, even though he's moving back to safety. Kyle Hamilton expected to make another major leap. That dude's going to be a stud.
Yes.
Yes. Of course, you got Marcus Williams back there. And then in the secondary, you have Darryl Worley, who came on strong the last 6 games last year, and you have Kevin Seymour. This is a group where you have a premier corner, you have a really good second corner, and then there's a disconnect right there because Worley and see more of dime package situations.
Mhm.
You don't really have that buffer of a third corner that could be a starter somewhere else like we've had in over the course of our history.
Yeah.
So that is a little bit worrisome. And then losing Calais to Atlanta, I know that he's really big in the community already down there. I love Calais. I'm happy for him. I just think that if he wanted to go chase a Super Bowl, that was kind of like, you know, the complete opposite direction of what you wanted to do. I do believe we need to add somebody on the defensive line. I like that Travis Jones is going to be back. I'm a Brent Urban fan. I always have been. I like Brent coming back for another year.
Why?
Yeah. So he's
that guy. What's he like? He's like 6'8", big arms. That guy's that guy. How many? He's blocked countless field goals. Him and Calais Campbell there. That was awesome.
Pushing that middle.
And then the Ravens are going to have a tough decision, Tavon. You know, I know the season's going to get started. We're in the early stages of training camp, but Broderick Washington and Justin Madubuike are both free agents at the end of the year, and you're going to have to pay one of them.
Oh yeah, they're going to keep one.
Yeah, they're going to keep one, but you're not going to keep both.
I have like a feet-on situation.
You're right, and I'm excited about Ojabo. I'm excited about Bowser being healthy. I know that we are looking at Kyle Van Noy. I'm personally for that. I think Van Noy has been a serviceable vet everywhere he's been. He played under Belichick. He played under Vrabel. He played under a lot of different cats. So I think that he's going to be okay with us. And, you know, obviously Roquan and Patrick Queen are going to be a good duo unless Queen gets moved or he forces his way out. Do you see, what's the weakness on the defense, if you will, for the Ravens this year?
I think I like this hearing you guys, pick off the names. I'm still looking to see what we do secondary wise. I think the Stevenson move is good. I don't think he had the feet and dynamics for corner, and especially playing corner in the league. That's like right on almost on the same level as being a quarterback. You know, you like when you're on that island, you got to be able to play that island. You know, I'm not saying he has some striking ones, but when you put him up against a Devontae Adams, you know, and those type of guys, that's what you're going to have to bring the heat. You know, so I'm glad they made that move. So looking at the corner, I like Patrick Queen, but never was a fan of him being in Baltimore just because of how our defense normally is, especially with that front line and the linebacker. I didn't think he was the body for our defense with playing in the AFC North, and also not being able to cover well, especially in the flat. When we go against now, we have running backs that are a little bit more quicker and shiftier to be able to, on those 3rd and 2s, 3rd and 3s, 3rd and floors, to be able to stop, you know, those quick out routes by the running back coming out the backfield or coming, you know, up the middle in option route, you know. So that scares me a lot. You know, like you said, Roquan will give you what he is. He's downhill, just like he was with Georgia, downhill.
He's a violent dude.
Yeah, I'm gonna fill a gap. You got to do the reps. So now maybe that, you know, instead of going to Twitter, maybe that should spark a fire. Like, hold up, they bringing him in, and that kid from Clemson is nasty.
Yes, he is.
I like to watch the game, so that should light a fire to say, okay, like you said, Roquan got $100 million. They still haven't given me anything. Instead of always going back on the club, how about I take a look at myself? Am I working on that aspect of my game to be able to secure my future? You know, to be able to say, you know what, if Baltimore don't want me, I can go get paid here. Again, going back to Judon. You know what I mean? I know Baltimore ain't going to pay me. I go to New England, balls out, they're going to pay me. Or are you just doing enough because you know nobody's behind you at the moment? And Patrick Queen didn't really have anybody behind him, really pushing them to say, okay, I'm going to come take your spot. You know, so that's why him not being able to cover over the years, they still put him in. It's kind of like we bend in, we don't break defense. But at some point, you can't keep bending. You know, if you got a side of the ball where they. So I think it's either like you say, he's gonna force himself out, or if the young pup gonna beat him out, and then it's when you gotta make a decision. You gotta make a business decision. Well, it's not for me, or maybe you should have. That's something you should have took up. So I watch his story, his kind of like short documentary on YouTube, and and that comes with the accountability factor as well. Yeah, we can blame the club for certain aspects, but some things just you've been playing this game for years. What is your weak points? Because you're told what your weak points are. What are your strengths? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? If you know pass covers your weaknesses, how about you get with guys in your hometown or around the league? Let me go cover some of these wide receivers just to be able to get my footwork. Go cover some of these running backs to get my feet ready to, okay, when I know we're going to play against the Steelers, Cincinnati, that's rolling a little bit, and I got to cover them. The Browns, are the Browns, but they're starting to climb a little bit. Let me be able to cover, not only be able to just hit, because you still got to cover, because the offenses in the AFC North ain't like the AFC North offenses like they used to, ground and pound. Oh, I'm going to hit the tight end. Oh, I'm going to hit this street. No, everything is whipping. It's coming here. We doing screens. You got Najee Harris being able to catch out the backfield. Can you cover that? You know what I mean? So I'm looking to see how the corner's going to look, because we've been up and down on our corner sides, even with having Peters there. Peters was a super risk when he was on the field with taking chances. And to me, sometimes he would piss me off with some of the decision he would make during that time, during a play, and they would look to the ref for like, I didn't know he pushed. No, it stays something fundamentally found. So I'm looking forward to seeing on the corner and with Patrick Queen and how that young fella gonna push him, and of course D-line, because we always notable for having D-line, those guys up line that can push the pile. If we can get that back up, that would help on the back end. That would kind of remind me of like the late 90s, late 90s, and those early 90s, mid 90s, late 90s Florida State Seminoles, where they had the D-line, they had those linebackers. That D-line was pushing the pile. It caused interceptions. So we can get back to having that D-line that caused chaos to force those interceptions, force turnovers, or it just get a lot more 3 and outs. They get the rest, the offense get to operate, and then boom, we kind of like even kill when it comes to having that spunk and that fire to get back up there and reclaim the AFC North.
Yep.
I agree with you 100%. And before we let you go, Tavon, you are a diehard Orioles fan and you are in Braves country. How is that going for you?
I love it, man. And that's why me and the family went up for a game, and I did that on purpose. And I had my Orioles hat on. We're a well-traveled city, because that stadium was filled with Oriole fans. And like I said, I love it. I'm just all Baltimore. And my brother's the same way. He ride around. He got Raven license plate. He wear everything Baltimore, black and purple. He don't care where he's at. I'm the same way. And it was kind of cool, Brian and Matt. My wife and I and the kids, we stumbled onto a Baltimore Ravens bar grill in Atlanta. So I just wanted to check this bar grill out in Atlanta. So we drove up and we was watching when they played the Giants. We watching the game. So wife went to the bathroom. I went to the bathroom upstairs. So as I'm coming around the steps, I hear the Baltimore house music playing. They had a whole full DJ. So they have a page on Instagram called From Baltimore to ATL. So people who have moved from Baltimore to ATL. So they had a Baltimore DJ. They had a blow up Ravens guy there. I mean, everybody up there, purple and black jerseys on. They had the big screen, the big projection screen showing the Ravens game. So we found a Ravens bar grill here, and that was like pretty cool. And everybody black and purple down. I loved it, man, especially with the Orioles and going to be able to watch that game, to see the home team there, which we should have had won. We just had that hiccup at the end of that game. But, man, I love it. I wear my colors proud. I talk about Baltimore all the time, and a lot of people talk trash like, man, what happened to your Jets? I say, I just work for them. So I'm a Baltimore guy. I'm a hometown kid. So I'm a Baltimore guy. And, Matt, that same picture you got in the back, I gave my brother that picture. He has it in his house.
The aerial shot of M&T Bank.
Yeah. So yeah, no, man. I rooted on. I try to find anywhere I can down here to try to watch the games. But yeah, like I'm excited to see what the guys do this year with adding those flavors in the mix. And like you said, Lamar got the money. He's getting an offensive guy, an offensive coordinator who was able to take a Stetson Bennett, and they got to the national championship twice. You know what I mean, back to back. So if you could do that with Stetson Bennett, and he's not a bad quarterback, but you having a Lamar at your disposal, and I'm just looking forward to seeing what he's able to put together in the lab to run this team. And it might be to where he has stuff for OBJ where he doesn't have to do as much to put much pressure on those knees, where it will open Zay Flowers up more, but even bring more to Andrews. If Andrews was able to put those numbers up against that type of offense, being able to have those weapons on the outside to take the pressure off of him, Andrews gonna work. He's sitting there just gonna work. And he gonna start that. Well, he should be up there anyway with Kelsey anyway, because the stuff that he does, but being able to open that man up to be able to do more is gonna be amazing. Looking forward to see.
Absolutely. Hey, Tavon, I want to thank you for taking just about 90 minutes out of your evening.
Okay.
I know that you were in the thralls of football season and in school. Thank you so much for coming on. Before we let you go, let everybody know where they can find you on social media and where they can donate to your charity.
Yep.
And where can they interact with you?
Oh yeah, definitely on Instagram. My Instagram handle is Mr._T Mason. Twitter is T Mason 18. You also on Twitter TMLTKF. On Instagram, Tavon Mason Love the Kids. And you can go to www.tavonmasonlovesthekids.org. Look at the pictures of where I'm going at. You can donate there. You can also order the books that we have there. And yeah, anytime, I'll come back on, with you, Matt, Brian. If you want me to come on, I can come on with you. I love talking sports, mixing it up, or just talking in general. I love.
Do you golf?
I'm getting in there. I'm trying to get there.
Okay. That's premise of my shows. That'll be good. I try to get people that are getting into it too, man. So
yeah, I want to get my father-in-law is real big one. That'd be cool to have him on. He's a golf nut. He actually came down when we moved into our new home last August. Him and my mother-in-law drove down, and the first thing he said, "Hey, what golf courses y'all got around here?" That's the first thing he said. So he actually got out. But yeah, man, I love it. And like I said, I'm looking forward to seeing what our boys do this year. And I did see somewhere where Ryan Clark had picked them to win a Super Bowl. And that's the thing that I noticed. Even though, Lamar gets scrutinized a lot of sportscasters pick the Ravens every year to have an explosive year, just because they know we just got different parts we're missing. We're trying to put this jigsaw puzzle together. And like you guys said, I think we have that mixture right there to be able to and then run it. I mean run it on both sides of the ball, not where the offense got to pick it up for the defense, or the defense got to pick it up the offense. I think we almost neck and neck. If they can put that together, this training camp, it can be insane.
Agreed.
There you have it, folks. Thank you so much for joining the show. We've really appreciated you, Tavon. If you want to hang around for a minute on post show, that's a wrap. Brian, No Bull Sports just had your first episode with your golf content. Looking forward to seeing you crank out more and being a contributor here with the show. Tomorrow night I have a solo show on Bearded Wholesome and All Things Baltimore on my solo show. Ryan Cassie, an author from Baltimore via Pennsylvania. He's a Baltimore transplant, but he is, one of us. He represents the city well. He's world traveled. He'll be on tomorrow night to talk about his new books and his traveling around the world recently. So tune into that. We will be having a Ravens trivia show next week if everybody wants to join in. See y'all later.
Peace.
Peace.